All right. To take out your salvation and discipleship tract, does anybody need one? That's what we've been going through. Okay. We're on number, I think we finished number 14, right? Yeah. The difference between the great white throne judgment and the judgment seat of Christ. Today, we come to number 15, the distinction between eternal life and eternal rewards. So notice these two passages are in Revelation 22. So if you'll turn to Revelation 22, let's look at them. Twenty-two, 17. And the Spirit and the bride say, "Come." And let him who hears say, "Come." Let him who thirsts come. Whoever desires, let him take the water of life freely. My Bible says freely at the end. Does anybody have a different translation?
Without price.
Without price?
Without cost.
Without cost?
Free gift.
Free gift? Yeah. Okay. When he says, "Let the Spirit and the bride say, come," who's the Spirit?
Holy Spirit.
Okay, Holy Spirit. Who's the bride? Yeah, believers. And what he's saying is the Holy Spirit and the church are saying to people, "Come." Let him hear say, "Come." Let him who thirsts come. Let him take the water of life. What would you think the water of life would be? Yeah, everlasting life. Water of life is everlasting life. And what's significant about the last part? Freely, without cost.
It's a free gift.
Free gift. Yeah, it can't be much clearer. It's a free gift. It's without cost. Any comments about that? Questions about that verse?
Is that, I think that's probably one of the clearest passages in the Bible.
Yeah.
About this, the freedom stuff.
Yeah, I do. Sure.
What would be a junior verse to that? You think,
I don't know. Is it Romans 6:23? The wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life. That's one. All right. Look at verse 12. This is Jesus speaking. "Behold, I'm coming quickly, and my reward is with me to give to everyone according to" what? His work. What's the difference between 12 and 17? Yeah, it's the difference between a work, have to work for this, the other is free gift. So what's the free gift? Eternal life. What do you have to work for? The reward. That makes sense. I mean, if it's a reward, it's something you earn, something you work for. It's a free gift, you don't work for it, you just receive it as a free gift. Now, we're on a topic, the difference between salvation and discipleship, and to me, this is one of the greatest, two verses to show clearly the difference, that salvation is free, the reward is costly. It's a work. So does anybody have a question about a comment or question about verse 12? All right. On your pamphlet, Salvation Discipleship pamphlet, I want you to look at number 15 again. I have eternal life and eternal rewards plural. Now, when I wrote this years ago, this was actually published in 2017, I had rewards. But since 2017, I paid closer attention to this verse. What word does the verse use?
Reward,
Reward,
singular.
singular. It doesn't say rewards. And you might think, oh, well, what's the difference? Well, I want to try to explain that. I think there's a significant difference, and I want to get into this because I think it's very important. So I thought about it and I thought, we probably ought to take some time on this because we're going to talk about the difference between salvation and discipleship. We have to know the difference between eternal life and eternal reward. If we don't know the difference between eternal life and eternal reward, salvation and discipleship really doesn't make much sense when it comes to an eternal perspective. Okay? So I gave you, or you should have at your table, a page that has a yellow band at the top, and it's labeled Your Eternal Reward. Does everybody have one? Anybody not have one? Okay, I want to try to walk you through this page. First topic on the page is the best news you'll ever hear. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. That's the best news you'll ever hear. The next passage is the second best news you'll ever hear. It's the one we just read. Behold, I'm coming quickly, and my reward is with me to give to everyone according to his work. So that just sets up this topic. The best news and the second best news. Best news, everlasting life. Second best news, the promise of reward for the work that we do. Now, notice the next topic on the page. There is only one reward, and it's singular, one reward, and I want to try to demonstrate that with these 6 passages. There are many more that I could show you, but we're just going to look at these 6 today. First, my reward is with me, Revelation 22:12. Notice it's singular. Now I want to stop there and say, I don't know why I'd never done this until a few years ago, I looked up the word reward in my concordance. Every use, I think there's 15 times the word reward is found. It's always singular. I was shocked. I just never noticed it. The word rewards, plural, is not even in the Bible, to my understanding. As I remember studying it, and I thought, why didn't I ever notice that? That's interesting and I think very significant. But here you have one example where Jesus said, my reward is with me. Now, if there were plural rewards, what would Jesus have said? Give me the whole sentence.
My reward. My reward.
Yeah, you'd have a plural verb, a plural noun, and a plural verb. My rewards are with me. He didn't say that. My reward is with me. Now, my opinion, my conviction, it's not my opinion, if there were multiple rewards, I don't think he would have said my reward is with me. It wouldn't have made sense. If there are multiple rewards, he would have said my rewards are with me. I have rewards that I want to give based on your work. It'd be strange to me that he would say reward if there are rewards. So that's the first thing I noticed, and I thought, wow, that got my attention. Let me go to the next passage on your sheet. Hebrews 11:26. Moses looked to the what? If rewards were plural, what would have read? Yeah, of course, it seems to me that it would have read Moses looked to the rewards. Why say reward if there are multiple rewards? So there's just two examples of the word reward in the singular, but there are, I think, 15 other examples that I didn't list on this page, or 13 others. Question about that so far? Lynn?
You're exactly correct that I've looked at this exhaustively in the past. And the word rewards plural is nowhere in the New Testament at all. In the Old Testament, there is the words rewards used, but it's only used in nothing to do in context of an eternal reward.
Right.
It's like when people went out to battle and all that kind of stuff. And so the only time that the word rewards appears in the Old Testament is in that type of context. And you're exactly correct when it's in a context like Moses is using of something that is eternal, then it's always the singular.
Thank you for underscoring that. Thank you. Another comment or question?
In the reward can closure him, I think.
We'll get into that.
Okay.
Okay. Next passage, Philippians 3:14. I press toward the goal for the prize. Singular. Now, I think prize is a synonym for reward. Why would I suggest that Paul is talking about reward and not salvation?
Because it's press, which would indicate working towards. Press for means working towards.
Working toward. And what would it imply about his present status when he wrote it?
It's already saved.
Well, if he's pressing toward it, it would imply that maybe he's not saved and he's trying to gain it or keep it.
Pushing forward.
Certainly, he's not talking about salvation here, because you don't press toward the goal of salvation. Some people think that way, but that's not what this is about.
That would imply working.
That would imply works. So here's another example. You know, there are synonyms for reward in the New Testament, and prize is another synonym. It's a reward, it's a prize, but it's singular. Linzel.
How could that reward be negative and positive?
And what do you explain what you have in mind?
In other words, some won't get reward.
Others won't. Not everybody gets the same reward. Yeah. In the sense that we looked at last week, your wood, hay, and straw will be burned up. So in that sense, it's demonstrated that you've lost.
That's negative.
Yeah, you've lost what you could have had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you didn't gain what you could have had. Yeah. All right. Now the next one throws a little curve into my theory, so let's look at it. We can answer it, but I want you to try to hit the curveball here. Matthew 6:19-21. Lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Now I believe that the treasure is a synonym for reward. You know, reward, prize, treasure. But notice the first sentence is plural. The second sentence is singular. So let's read the first sentence. Lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. So that sounds like a contradiction to what I was saying, that reward, prize is always singular, but here it's plural. Can anybody guess why it's plural?
That's your
What it means for everybody.
I think it works.
Word.
His audience was multiple.
How many people is he speaking to in the first sentence?
Everybody.
Yeah. This is the Sermon on the Mount, okay? What do you, how many people was Jesus speaking to, if you've ever had an idea of this? How many people were gathered when Jesus preached the sermon? Yeah, probably thousands of people. So he's preaching to a multitude of people, and notice the plural of the people. Lay up for yourselves, plural, treasures in heaven. So in that sense, everybody, or multiple people, have a reward. So in that sense, it's plural because each one has a reward, if that makes sense. So like we have 40 men in the room, or whatever number we have here, there will be 40 men that are rewarded. In that sense, it's plural because we're a plural number of people. We each have a reward. And the reason I think that is because the second sentence, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. What do you see there? Singular. If he was carrying the thought through that each of us is going to have multiple rewards, I don't think he would have said that. What would he have said? So give me the sentence.
In the treasures,
Give me a verb.
treasures are, there your heart will.
Treasures are where your treasures are. So if Jesus intended to say that you as an individual should gain multiple treasures, or he wants you to gain multiple rewards, he would have said it that way. Where your treasures are, there your heart will be also. But he didn't. When he talked, and by the way, the first sentence, lay up for yourselves. What's yourselves? Singular or plural? Okay. Second sentence, where your treasure is. Now, we wouldn't know it, your could be a plural or a noun verb, right? But here it's singular. What did I just say? It could be plural or singular, but here it's a singular word. Where you as an individual, treasure is, there, and I've got a typo. Can you see it? Your heart. Again, your is singular. So this is really a significant passage to support what I'm saying here today. These two verses, to me, clearly distinguish the fact that the reward is singular for the individual. The treasure is individual for the singular individual. Now, ask me a question or make a comment. If you have a question or comment, Terry.
Prior to this explanation, I've always said, lay up for yourself treasures in heaven, and I've always took that as multiple good works, going to church, helping others. All these are your treasures that you lay up in heaven for anticipation of getting their reward. That's how I read that, in the context of speaking to multiple people.
Well, but the good works are what you bring to gain the treasure. The treasure is the eternal reward. It's not the works that you do, it's the reward for doing the work. Doing good works is how you lay up treasure in heaven. Robert?
What I keep saying is, I keep seeing the reward here. It makes me think of
spiritual. It doesn't make me think of what we look in life at a lot of times. It makes me think spiritual, his spiritual, how we're going towards his spiritual and our belief system. Does that make any sense?
And relate that to reward.
Reward. Many times we see the word reward and we think about treasure, and we think about all this stuff, but I feel like in here, he's talking about it's a spiritual deal between him and you. That's how you move forward
Yeah,
into that reward.
yeah.
Not a physical reward.
The reward is being in heaven, I mean, that eternal reward is being close to him. is the
Closer
reward.
relationship with Christ.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna see that after this paragraph, or this section, is what the reward is. Right now, I'm trying to demonstrate that there's only one reward. Then we'll talk about what it actually is. So I like where you're headed in thinking ahead. Let's look at the Revelation 4:4 passage. Around the throne, I saw 24 elders sitting, and they had crowns of gold. Now, I want to suggest that crowns are another synonym for reward. Reward, here we've got, what, 4 words? Yeah, reward, prize, treasure, crown, right? They're all synonyms for reward. But notice, well, first I want to say, John sees a vision of heaven, God on his throne, and 24 elders sitting around the throne, and they had crowns on their head. First, I believe the 24 elders are representative of rewarded believers. I don't think that at all God's trying to tell us that there are 24 people that get reward. I think that it's figurative, it's symbolic. These 24 elders that are sitting around the throne are in a vision. It's a symbolic vision of rewarded believers that are in the presence of God. So having said that, my focus now is, what do you notice about the word crowns? It's plural. Now, my theory is that every believer has a reward, or each believer will receive a reward singular. How can we explain that it's plural? Well, you're on a good track. If you've got 24 elders, how many crowns will you have?
24.
Very good. Good. So when we get to the judgment seat, let's say we got 40 men here in the room. I believe each of you will receive a reward. But if we were going to talk about it cumulatively, how many rewards would there be? 40. One for each of us. Even though I believe it's the same reward, that reward is given to each of us. So in that sense, it would be plural. The reason I put this in there is to show that even when the plural is used, it's always of plural people. Whenever it's used of an individual, it's always singular. That make sense? Scotty?
But once we get, once we go to our judgment, then we give the crown, right?
Right.
Okay.
Look at Revelation 3:11. Hold fast what you have, that no one may take your what? What's the significant about the word crown? Okay, if you were going to receive multiple crowns, it wouldn't read that way. It would say, hold fast what you have, that no one takes your crowns. I don't believe he would have worded it that way unless we were supposed to see that the reward, there's only one reward. It's singular.
How can someone take a crown away?
That's a good question. So what would that mean? How could someone take a crown away? That's a good question.
Somebody made you mad and you quit coming to church, would be one example.
That's a good example. How many people get bitter? What happens to your spiritual life when you're bitter, got bitterness in your heart? Are you growing? Are you gaining reward? So what Jesus is saying here is, don't let anybody do that to you. Don't let anybody get to you that would take away your crown. Of course, whose responsibility is it if somebody... Yeah. It's my responsibility. But if I let this person get to me and I'm bitter, I've let that person take my crown. Right? That's a good example. Very good example. I've let that person take my crown. And that's what Jesus warns about here.
Well,
Does that make sense?
sorry. How does that go along with the one thing I always say, though? You know, I mean, can they lose their, I know they can't lose salvation, but, can they lose fellowship and everything? Yeah, well, I know they can
Well,
lose fellowship.
Does it say, hold fast what you have that no one may take your salvation?
Yeah.
Of course not. I mean, that can't be. But somebody could take your crown, your reward, but you can't lose salvation, but you can lose crown. And then that, in what sense would you lose a crown? How can we explain that if you lay up treasure in heaven, and Jesus said, when you lay up treasure in heaven, nothing can take it away. So in what sense could you,
You lose the opportunity.
yeah, you lose the potential, you lose the opportunity? Basically, the idea here is let no one take the crown that you could gain. Ken?
I would think that Solomon was a good example here, because he started out so well, and then he let his wives take his crown away with the, when he built altars before gods for them, and, he's not even mentioned in the faith chapter in Hebrews, and I would think that's one of the reasons why.
Good example. Yep. Lots of examples of this in the Bible.
David lost the joy of his salvation.
Yep. When David committed adultery and murder, how would this verse apply?
For that length of time, he didn't have as good a crown.
Yeah. He lost some of he lost a portion of his crown or his reward. He let he let Bathsheba and his lust for Bathsheba, and he let that situation take away the crown that he could have had. Of course, David is still will be a very rewarded believer, but he won't be as rewarded as he would have been if he hadn't had that 9-month period in his life.
That potential that he messed up for that potential time period.
Right.
I mean, yeah, and I remember Solomon wrote, Proverbs, he wrote Ecclesiastes, but for that time that he was messing around with the idols and stuff, he probably lost a significant portion.
Right.
Hey, Bob, I was gonna say that I didn't see the reward because of pride forever. I didn't see that, but I had a question a while ago.
Okay. Danny?
Could you say that it's like you're building your rewards. It's everyday living.
Yes. It's what we talked about last week. You're laying up gold, silver, precious stones. Every day
Every day.
is an opportunity to lay up gold, silver, precious stones, and the reward that comes with that.
Okay.
Wenzel?
Speaking of David, David repented in Psalm 15. Now, he said, created me a clean heart, O God, and you in your right spirit. That wouldn't renew him.
Yeah.
So why would he long for one?
Okay, we saw it last week. You and me and David are laying up gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, and straw. You're gonna have a mixture, I'm gonna have a mixture, right?
But he hadn't died yet.
Yeah, but,
That was during his lifetime.
yeah,
And when you ask forgiveness, God is faithful and just to forgive you and cleanse you from all unrighteousness.
but that has to do with forgiveness and fellowship. But reward has to do with works. Good question. I hope the answer was good, but that's a good question.
Rewards are not retro. That God doesn't go back and fill in those times when we mess with the restaurant. He doesn't retro. It's just per day, or per event.
Yeah.
Per time
Or
period.
you could look at it like you're not gonna ever turn your hay or your straw into gold, and it's just always gonna be there.
Say again, I like the way you said it. Say it louder.
You're not ever gonna be able to turn your hay or your straw into gold. It's always gonna be there as hay and straw.
Yeah.
I like to consider it look like a free throw. Some of them you make and some of them you don't make. You don't get a chance, a second chance.
Okay.
I like
That's a
the-
deep thought. I don't know if I can take that in.
I like
Free throw.
Paul's, use of crown in, 2 Timothy, 4, where he ties it to, finishing strong. And he says that, henceforth there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous Lord, will reward me on that day. And so,
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Any other questions or comments so far? Mark?
Some people, I know I've met people and talked, even my own family, somebody became a believer and like, okay, they got it done. They did that. And it's kind of like, that's all. They got in. And, I mean, I know, I guess even growing up, yeah, that's all I knew, was just get saved, Mark. We become a believer. And you're in, you're in like plans, so it's, but this thought process about rewards is, very motivating.
Absolutely. Yep. What you do today has an eternal consequence. You're saved, but what you do today will count for eternity, good or bad. Yep. Robert?
I think on that deal that you were talking about David and Samuel in the circle in which they were being, Samuel was confronting David. Okay, and that's a very good example. For old Samuel, when he got through, doing this, from what I remember doing this, that Samuel told David, this is you. Or if I read right in the Bible, this story I told you is you.
Yeah, about the,
So in order to regroup, you have to move forward. In other words, you have to admit your fault and to move forward to work back towards that crown where that crown can be of honor.
yes. Okay.
It's good motivation, because he tells us we're to be in the world, not of the world. And you may ask the question, well, what's the point? Well, you're gonna benefit on that day, being not of the
Good point. Good comments. Let's go to the next topic. The reward is to be closer to Christ forever. I'm going to repeat it. The reward is to be closer to Christ forever. And I have a couple of passages here to try to explain that. Matthew 20. The mother of James and John came to Jesus saying, "Grant that these two sons of mine may sit, one on your right hand and the other on the left, in your kingdom." Jesus said, "To sit on my right hand and on my left is for those for whom it is prepared by my Father." What do we learn about eternal reward from that passage?
No favoritism.
I don't know what,
Asking for greater intimacy with Christ in the kingdom. And his answer indicated that this does exist.
that's what Ken said. I want to underscore what Ken said. Does Jesus indicate in this passage that being closer to him is a thing? It's a real thing. Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Because, I don't know, Jesus didn't say, I mean, if it wasn't a real thing, what would he have said to the mother?
It doesn't matter whether everybody can have it.
Well, you nailed it. Say it again.
It doesn't matter how close, but they're all gonna be up there, everybody has an equal spot.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Roger nailed it. I hope everybody could hear him. Could you hear him? He wasn't very loud. Could you hear him? Could you hear him?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me? Think about it. And the reason what Roger said is so important is because many, many people really struggle with the concept of reward because they think what Roger just said some people think. They think, what about people in heaven? We're all equal. I remember Russ Perry did a survey in the Walmart parking lot one time. Leave it to Russ to do this. He said, I'm taking a survey. I just have one question. Do you think we're all going to be equal in heaven? Do you think we're all going to be equal in heaven? What do you think that the predominant answer was? Yeah, I think 100% said, oh yeah, we're all going to be equal in heaven. That is definitely, I think, the prevailing thought that people have. That, well, of course we're all going to be equal in heaven. And if that were true, what would Jesus have said to the woman?
there isn't anybody to the right or left of me.
There's nobody to the right or left. Everybody's equal. Yeah. But instead, what did he do? What does his answer tell you?
That there,
It's possible. It's possible.
It's not only possible, it's going to happen. It's possible for these two sons. It's possible for others. But there will be people on his right and on his left. Now, we need to realize, where I'm headed is, how many people does he say will be on his right and on his left? He doesn't say. Don't think that he's saying there's going to be one person on my right and one person on my left.
Only he knows.
That's not what he's saying. Because I think we know from other scriptures there will be, multiple people on his right, multiple people on his left. The implication is some will be closer to him. And with this mother, how do you explain this mother's attitude or desire? Is it to be commended or to be criticized?
No,
Yeah. If you have a child, what well, what's the greatest thing you would want for your child?
Believe.
Salvation. What's the second greatest thing you could want for your child? To be closer to Christ. So this mother was spot on. She's a good mother. She cared about the eternal destiny of her sons and wanted them to be closer to Christ. And there's nothing that you could want for a child more than that, to be saved and to be closer to Christ. Scotty?
I believed this way for a long time. Built up through this church, I didn't know really, we never taught about rewards.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for this.
Yeah, I am too. I'm grateful I was taught too. Jeremy?
Well, just to be clear, in heaven, we could be equal in heaven, but in the kingdom, which comes after our time, after we've been in judgment seat of Christ, then we have greater reward. So they're not wrong when they say, are we equal in heaven? If we haven't been in front of the judgment seat of Christ, then probably, yeah. We're equal in heaven, but in the kingdom, greater rewards. It's
Well-
a deep thought, but it's good to bring it up because a lot of people don't go past heaven. They're not thinking about the kingdom. This mother was.
Yeah. Okay, you've opened something. I'm just going to make a brief comment.
Yeah.
I think that there will be a sense of reward even in heaven, even though we haven't been rewarded at the judgment seat. The reason I think that is because John's vision of heaven had the 24 elders sitting around the throne. So something's going on in heaven, not on the earthly kingdom, but in heaven where those that are closer to Christ. You may be right, but I think that implies that even in heaven there will be a sense of reward, even before the official judgment seat of Christ.
The reason I said that is you're not ruling and reigning in heaven.
That's true.
You're only ruling and reigning in the kingdom.
Well, 100% I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because we don't rule and reign in heaven. That's on the earthly kingdom.
That's like part of.
Yeah, thank you. So that's why I say there will be a sense of reward, but you're definitely right, not the complete, the complete reward, yeah. Chuck?
Do you think that Jesus answered the woman's question with that response?
No, I left out some verses. If you read the context, I left out some verses just for teaching purposes. He said to the boys, the sons, are you willing to drink the cup that I drink? And they said, yes, we're able. What he was talking about, his suffering. Are you willing to suffer and sacrifice? Because that's what it's going to take. So,
He answered it with other verses.
yeah, other verses that are in the, I just left them out, but thank you for bringing it up. He did answer a question and say, if you want your boys to sit on my right and my left, and I'm speaking to you boys because they were standing right there, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you.
He just didn't answer it with this response. He
Well, this is-
used the other responses to answer the question, but not this response.
Well, this is all on me. I only put part of the passage here. But you've rightly brought me to account here. I'm just trying to teach some of what Jesus said, not all of it. But what you brought up is significant. Yeah, Charles?
So the bottom line, Bob, is if we pray for our children, we pray for our church members, and we pray for others. In Philippians 2:12, it says, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. So what I get from that is, I appreciate prayer from anyone, right? And Bob's praying for me, but I've got to work out my salvation.
Yeah.
On my own. And I've got to make sure that I stick as close to the word as possible,
Right.
as human, in the flesh.
Right.
Right?
Yes. And since you brought up the verse, let me touch on it briefly. When he says, work out your salvation, what question do we need to raise? Salvation from what? So if you're working out your salvation, it's salvation from what? In, let's talk about what we're talking about this morning.
Through God's temple, wrath, salvation, and the last loss of the.
Yeah, if we're spoken on today's topic, it's salvation from loss of reward. I have to work out my salvation from loss of reward. So thank you for bringing that up. But it is on the individual. Yes, you have to you pray for your kids, but it's ultimately up to them. Yeah. Oh, you got a lot of good comments today. Any other? Rory?
Gina wanted to remind about the changes in the hospital.
Russ has it covered. Chin?
Well, I think sometimes as Americans, we think everybody's gonna be equal because we think that way, but this is more of a meritocracy. You merit you merit your position in the kingdom.
Yeah, right. Okay, I think we'll stop there and pick it up next week. Let's pray.